Moin, ihr wunderbare Menschen des Interwebs. Ich begrüße euch ganz herzlich zurück zu meinem Let's Play von The Great Ace-Attorney Chronicles. Wir haben im letzten Part Episode 3 abgeschlossen, die The Adventure of the Runaway Room hieß, und die hat damit geendet, dass die Kutsche in Brand gesteckt wurde und man nur noch ein Klopfen aus dieser Kutsche gesehen hat, dass irgendjemand noch versucht hat rauszukommen. Wer diese Person war, haben wir allerdings nicht gesehen. Und jetzt frage ich mich natürlich, ob Episode 4 dort anknüpfen wird und man erfährt, um wen es sich handelt, oder ob das vielleicht noch ob das jetzt noch ein anderer Fall ist, mit dem wir uns beschäftigen. Ich würde sagen, wir gucken uns das Ganze einfach einmal an. Wir haben 11 Chapter. Dann hoffe ich doch mal, dass das jetzt endlich mal... Wir haben das Opening, Investigation, Pre-Trial, Trial Start. Okay, das sieht jetzt tatsächlich so aus, als würde das endlich mal ein Fall sein, wo wir Ermittlungen haben und dann noch eine Gerichtsverhandlung. Und dann vielleicht nochmal Ermittlungen. Also das finde ich doch schon mal sehr, sehr, sehr schön. Das finde ich gut. Ja, so mag ich das nämlich, wenn du nämlich wirklich einen gemischten Fall mit drin hast. Das finde ich gut. Aber wir fangen an, ganz am Anfang, mit dem Opening. Episode 4, The Adventure of the Cloud Kokoro Opening. Start playing from here. Yes, please.
Tokiori, 僕は思うのだよ、ワトソン。ホームズは物憂げに首を振り言った。我々が目にする事件は、本当にそれが全てなのだろうか。その裏側に誰も知るもののない物語が隠れているかもしれない。ハーブティーから立ち上る湯気を追うその夢見るような眼差しの先には、きっとあの雪の日の夕刻の情景が浮かんでいたのだと思う。ブライアーロードの歩道に倒れ伏した若い女性とその背に刺さった狂人。ガス灯の明かりが柔らかく切り取った奇怪な事件現場の情景。不可解な姿なき犯人の事件は薄い霧の中静かに幕を開けたのだった。
Okay, Verzeihung, wir sind im Lord Chief Justice Office. Da müssen wir ja eigentlich auch wieder hin, nachdem wir ja unseren Fall mit, ja, Bravour würde ich jetzt nicht sagen. Wir haben uns irgendwie da durchgeboxt. Nach wie vor bin ich nicht sehr zufrieden, wie dieser Fall aufgehört hatte. Aber nichtsdestotrotz, wir haben den Fall abgeschlossen. Did you sleep last night, Mr. Naruhodo? No, not at all. It was an enormous hotel, wasn't it? The rooms were so luxurious, I felt like we were staying in a palace. And with all the gas lights twinkling, it was brighter than day, even in the middle of the night. What about the enormous beds? After my time on the SS Buria, I wasn't going to waste a single inch of that space. I spent the entire night rolling from one side of the mattress to the other. Ah yes, it really was the sort of night you can only dream of normally. Except... when I learned that we owed £3 for the rooms, that dream quickly turned into a nightmare. Sorry about that. The building was so impressive and the entrance so inviting, I just wandered in without thinking. In a lodging house in Japan, that sum of money would put a roof over your head for a whole year. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't help my tears when we were presented with the bill. I'm really sorry. Well, never mind. We must find some more affordable lodging straight away, though. If we were not careful, our entire stipend will be used up in 10 days or less. London is a scary place. Ah, good morning to you at this early hour. Oh, yes, well... Good morning to you, Lord Chief Justice. We have come to report on the outcome of the trial at the Old Bailey yesterday. Susato-san is amazing. She doesn't bat an eyelid, even in the presence of the imposing Lord Stromhard. Yes, I believe you had a very comprehensive initiation into British courtroom practices. Oh, yes, it was very eye-opening. Thank you. And in accordance with your instructions, Lord Strongheart, Mr. Naruhodo performed his duty to the end. Yes, I've already been apprised of events. You conducted a remarkable defense. You may consider the task passed. No longer are you a student from the Empire of Japan. You may henceforth claim to be a fully fledged lawyer. My country is delighted to welcome young talent from such a remote eastern land. Thank you very much. So, I'm a lawyer now. Now, in view of your new appointment, I have a fresh case in mind for you. I would like you to take it on at once. I trust it won't be a problem. Another case already? Nothing trains a lawyer better than practical experience. I'm sure I don't sense dissatisfaction, do I? It's just that yesterday's trial ended unusually. I haven't quite come to terms with it. What's to come to terms with? The man was cleared. What more were you hoping for? Naja, Antworten hätte ich noch gerne gehabt. I just can't help wondering if Mr. McGildet really was innocent. Mr. Naruhodo, it's just that I never managed to ascertain the truth. And then the trial ended. Well, you needn't let it trouble you for a second longer. Sorry. What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? Magnus McGildet passed away immediately following the trial. No. What? Mr. McGildet is dead? I have 19 minutes and 41 seconds until my next engagement. Time enough to talk. I don't understand. What happened? How can he be dead? After the trial concluded yesterday, there was a great commotion in the Old Bailey. As you will presumably recall, an omnibus had been wheeled into the courtroom. Yes, of course, that was the scene of the crime which Mr. McGildet had been accused of. Precisely. Well, while the belief attention was diverted by some other murder, the omnibus went up in flames. How could such a thing have happened? That is being investigated as we speak, but already the police have identified a corpse found inside the shared shell of the carriage as that of McGildet. That's awful. The man must have slipped inside whilst the belief attention was elsewhere. That belief really needs to pay more attention. How could that have happened? That is also being investigated as we speak. Thinking back now, immediately after the trial, Mr. McGildet did mention going back into the courtroom to look at the omnibus. Ja, und ich bin mir sehr, sehr sicher, dass er da Beweise verschwinden lassen wollte oder nachsehen wollte, dass auch wirklich kein Beweis übrig bleibt, der ihn irgendwie weiter mit diesem Fall in Verbindung bringt oder ihn weiter belasten würde. An inspection of the omnibus? Not to my knowledge. I don't believe Scotland Yard had any intention of re-examining the carriage. But then who was Mr. McGildet talking about? Never mind that now. The Yard is making a thorough investigation. This matter is no longer any concern of yours. Leave it to the police. Poor Mr. McGildet. So, how did you find your first taste of our country's Supreme Court? Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it was wow. Mr. Naruhodo means that the whole experience was steeped in the solemnity of Great Britain's long history. It's really a world apart from our own judicial system in Japan, which is only a few short decades old. Wow, Susato-san has such a way with words. And you seem to have a way of failing to find the right ones. The judicial system here is the most advanced in the world. Learn all you can. The most advanced in the world, is it? It was fortunate that your very first trial was a simple affair. Simple? That was simple? As I believe I mentioned yesterday morning, it was a trial you couldn't lose. I don't mean to be contrary, Lord Strongheart, but the case was anything but simple. The circumstances of the case were so incriminating, I was stunned when I first heard them. In fact, I'm still finding it hard to believe that we managed to get a favorable verdict. Is something funny? Oh no, my apologies. However, the fact is that you did receive the not guilty verdict you set out to achieve. And that can only be attributed to exceptional talent, wouldn't you agree? Well, I don't know about that. Well, never mind. You exceeded my expectations. I freely admit, that much at least is an undeniable truth. Which is precisely why I have prepared the new case for you that I mentioned before. What's going on? What was he going to say before? Could you perhaps give us some more details about the new case you mentioned? Don't tell me it's a murder and the trial starts in 10 minutes. Don't worry, it's nothing so alarming or quite so urgent as your last assignment. In fact, this case is completely different. Oh, I see. Did he just read my mind? That is to say, no one has died as yet. And the trial will not be today. There is plenty of time to research the case so thoroughly. 23 hours, 43 minutes and 19 seconds to be precise. So the trial's tomorrow then. Is everything alright? Oh, yes, I'm just a little confused, that's all. Yesterday's trial was, well, it's left me wondering if I'm really cut out for being a lawyer. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo, I don't know if I could face standing in the courtroom again after Mr. McGildat's trial. Oh yes, I nearly forgot. There is one similarity with yesterday's case. Once again, there is currently no one to advocate for the defense. If the situation remains unchanged, the trial will start tomorrow with the defendant unrepresented. And if that happens, I need not remind you of the inevitable outcome. Mein Gott. Ich stolper aber auch gerade so über die Wörter. The most terrible end awaits the defendant. Yes, that's right. Here we go again. Your time is up. You will have to excuse me. I would advise you to begin making preparations for tomorrow's trial. After all, the clock is ever ticking. There is now but 23 hours, 26 minutes and 39 seconds until the court sits. Last time he mentioned the 23 hours, he said there was plenty of time. And one more thing, Mr. Naruhodo, there is something I should like to ask you. What's that? Yesterday, you remarked upon something that you intend to see through the will of your late compatriot, Mr. Asogi. I would be interested to hear what exactly you mean by that. Inside 34 seconds. Oh, well, Kazuma always used to say, you see, that he wanted to learn how the greatest justice system in the world works so he could change ours in Japan. Now that he's gone, I would like to work towards it myself. And there's another thing. Another thing. Continue. On the way here, on the steamship, he said something to me. There's something very important that I have to do. Something very important? And what exactly would that be? He never had a chance to tell me. I suppose he would have done if he would ever made it to Great Britain. You're out of time. Well, thank you for an enlightening discussion.
Mr. Naruhodo, what's all this about? Mr. Asogi never once mentioned anything of the sort to me.
I urge you both to focus your attentions on the matter at hand. I have taken the liberty of summoning the police inspector and judge of the case. He will be able to apprise you of the details. How long has he been there? So, I wish you the best of luck and bid you farewell.
There's something very important that I have to do, Kazuma-sama. What do you mean?
I wish I knew, but honestly, he never told me. Anyway, we had better talk to the detective, don't you think?
Yes, you're right.
I hope I'm just imagining, but I wouldn't say he looks pleased to see us at all. Oh, Fish and Chips? Lecker! Gut. Bevor wir jetzt aber hier mit dem Herrn reden, muss ich einmal kurz einen Schluck trinken. Could we trouble you? What do you think? Lovely weather, isn't it? What's the weather got to do with anything? Listen to me, you young Japanese upstart. Some frippery about the weather doesn't get every English gent eaten out of your hand, you know? But Susato-san told me it was foolproof. I'm a busy man, a very busy man. There's a crime. There's a crime scene to investigate, but I'm here having to give the likes of you a talking to. Oh, I'm ever so sorry. Can you imagine what the other officers there will be saying, Haven't seen Gregson anywhere, have you? No, he's too busy with the bigwigs these days. And all because of some pumpkin who's here on a jaunt from a country I've never even heard of. Hear the ripping sound? That's my reputation at the yard going to tatters. There's no need to rip us apart as well.
I don't believe we've been introduced. This is Mr. Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a defense lawyer. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Sue. It's lovely weather we are having today, isn't it?
It is unseasonable fine, I grant you. London winters don't see a lot of sunshine. Unbelievable. How did she pull that off? So, Lord Strongheart has asked me to fill you in on the case. The name's Tobias Gregson, Inspector Gregson to you. I'm from Scotland Yard.
Gregson? Inspector Gregson?
What's the matter with Susato-san? Does this detective's name mean something to her? Bin mir sehr sicher, kommt in Sherlock Holmes Geschichten vor.
Inspector, are you perhaps the Inspector Gregson?
You're acting like you know this man, Mr. Sato, but he's a London detective.
Oh, I do know him very well, in fact.
Very well?
Yes, he features prominently in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, and that publication. What's it called again? Grant's Magazine?
That's right, Inspector Gregson and Mr. Holmes enjoy a wonderful friendly rivalry.
Really? You rival the great Mr. Holmes? That's incredible. Oh, well, I don't know about that. Mr. Holmes isn't a professional like myself, of course, but he does come up with the goods from time to time.
Mr. Holmes is equally complimentary about you, Inspector, isn't he? You've earned his highest praise. Gregson is the pick of a bad lot of all the Scotland Yarders. Those were his own words.
That's his highest praise?
Well, Mr. Holmes isn't particularly known for giving compliments, you see.
That he is not, and thanks to that magazine, my name's known all over London town now. That's great, isn't it? I have to admit that to start with, I was a little, well, flattered by all the attention. Everyone wanted to shake my hand, and my reputation at the yard went through the roof. Well, that's wonderful. No, it's not. There's nothing more sinister than the man on the street.
People are always looking at me now. They are whispering rumors about me under their breath, I'm sure.
Rumors?
Are you quite sure?
He's changed since he started appearing in those stories. The fame's gone to his head, stuff like that.
Gosh, do you really think people are saying such mean-spirit things about you?
Like I said, they whisper, so I can't catch exactly what they are saying, but I know what folk are like. Mir ist auch jetzt erst gerade aufgefallen bei seinem Hut. Sag mal, ist das Notizbuch? Falls es das Notizbuch ist es ein sehr, sehr cooler Ort, um das aufzubewahren. I'm sure that's why they're saying, as sure as X is X.
I get the feeling this detective could be very hard work. Oh dear, perhaps a sudden rise to fame does change people.
So, about the case that the Lord Chief Justice mentioned before, nothing to tell, really. As far as we're concerned at the yard, it couldn't be simpler.
Oh dear, that probably means that as far as we are concerned as lawyers, it couldn't be more complicated.
I wish you were wrong about that, but I have a nasty feeling you're right. A young woman was walking along the pavement on Breer Road when she was stabbed from behind. Fortunately, it wasn't fatal, but she's still laid up in hospital unconscious.
That's despicable. What sort of coward would attack the poor woman from behind?
I suppose you would have finished whoever it was off with a Susato takedown, would you?
That is neither here nor there, Mr. Naruhodo.
Brace yourself, Ryunosuke. You've angered her now. Anyway, after something of a whirlwind investigation, the criminal was arrested. He barely had time for a cup of tea after the incident took place, to be honest. So, there must have been something left at the scene that led you directly to the culprit?
Or perhaps a reliable witness who recognized the person in question?
Let me stop you right there. You're wasting your time on this one.
Sorry?
There's nothing you can do. There's no way to help the bloke now.
Why ever not?
Simple. The prosecutor that's been assigned to the trial tomorrow is Lord Baruch von Zieks. Sounds like you've heard of him then.
Oh, yes, we are very familiar with Lord von Zieks. Believed to be the harbinger of death itself.
The Reaper of the Bailey. Lord Baruch von Zieks, who we faced in court only yesterday.
Mr. McGilda told us about him before the trial, didn't he?
When von Zieks stands for the prosecution, they call the accused his sacrificial lambs. And in every single trial in which he's been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned. This Reaper of the Bailey nickname, I suppose he's earned that because every defendant he advocates against is found guilty, is that it?
Well, if that's the case, we should inform you, Inspector, that in yesterday's trial against Lord von Zieks, Mr. Naruhodo secured a verdict of not guilty.
And what of it?
Well, I think that means that even against the Reaper of the Bailey, it's not impossible to save the defendant.
No, you really don't have a clue, do you?
What do you mean?
What happened to that bloke in the end, huh? He's dead. Magnus McGilda came a cropper in the omnibus when it went up in flames. So you can't rightly say you saved the defendant, can you?
What are you saying?
Look, if von Zieks could get the dirt to stick on everyone, he would be a miracle worker. But that's not how it goes. He doesn't work miracles, he works magic. Black magic. I would have a good long think about that if I were you. Are we really supposed to believe that? Right, well, I filled you in as requested and I'm very nearly out of chips. So I will be heading back to the crime scene now. We're still carrying out a few investigations there.
It was Briar Road, you said, didn't you, where the incident took place?
That's correct, ma'am. And if you head over to the holding cells, you can meet the criminal himself. You have branded him a criminal already? He's as good as shaking like a leaf in his cell, he is. It will give you a chuckle, if nothing else. He's inmate 53. Speak to the jailer and he will show you the way. Inmate 53. Thank you. So, there's no helping anyone against the Reaper of the Bailey, they say.
Something troubling you, Mr. Naruhodo? To tell the truth, when I recall the trial yesterday, I can't stop myself from shaking. The idea of facing the Reaper in court again is... Well, if you think it's too much for you, there is no shame in turning the case down. That takes courage too.
But if the man they have arrested is innocent, you could well imagine he would be shaking like a leaf in his cell. And I, for one, wouldn't find the sight of that funny.
So...
If I'm honest, I'm still reeling from the shock of yesterday's events myself, and I'm really not sure if I will be able to help this man, whoever he is. But I would like to try, so I think I'm going to make some inquiries. Will you help?
Did you really think you had to ask? After all, I'm your judicial assistant.
Thank you. So then, shall we?
Yes, let's go.
Okay, dann geht es, wo gehen wir hin? Wir können erstmal zum Tatort oder in das Gefängnis gehen. Ich würde sagen, wir werden erstmal den Tatort besichtigen. Das Ganze werden wir aber erst im nächsten Part tun. Ich bin sehr, sehr gespannt, wie diese ganzen Fälle ausgehen, weil wir haben ja noch ein zweites Game in den Chronicles. Und das erste Game soll auf das zweite Game aufbauen. Also deswegen kann es eben sein, dass manche Sachen ein bisschen komisch rüberkommen im ersten Teil oder dass manches so off wirkt. Und das soll eben Vorarbeit für den zweiten Teil dann sein. Also da bin ich dann eben mal auch gespannt, wie das noch alles so zusammenhängt. Und nur so, auch wenn jetzt Mr. McGillick gestorben ist, ich kann mir nicht vorstellen, dass Van Zieks die Kutsche in Brand gesteckt hat. Also... kann ich mir jetzt irgendwie nicht vorstellen, dass er so ein Typ ist, der sowas machen würde. Aber ja, wir gucken im nächsten Part einmal uns den Tatort an und werden dann auch nochmal mit, eventuell mit dem Angeklagten ein paar Worte wechseln. Wie immer bedanke ich mich ganz herzlich fürs Zusehen. Hoffe, ihr hattet Spaß. Und wenn ihr mögt, sehen wir uns sehr, sehr gerne im nächsten Part wieder. Bis dahin, ciao.